Have you ever been late for something really important? For one reason or another, everyone winds up late sometimes, but there are lots of problems in store for people who seem to be late for everything, and we'll discover what they are on today's visit to the Wad Fam Chalkpad.
Oh, hi there. I was just editing one of my episodes here. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but you can call me Dylan, and this is the podcast. Hey, let's see how this thing sounds. Whoa, hold in! Okay, so it needs a little more work. But that's the exciting part, because you never know what you'll discover along the way. Oh, don't take my word for it, though. Find out for yourself when you explore our side of podcasting, the Wad Fam Chalkpad.
Well, Dylan is already in the studio, waiting to record a new episode of the podcast. Everything's set, but we're missing one person, Andrew Acebo, and there's no telling where he is because the fact is, he seems to be late for everything. The big question is, will Dylan wait for him? Time is ticking away.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalkpad. I'm Dylan Weaver.
I'm Andrew Acebo.
He was late today.
I was by 15 minutes.
It's very thematic.
Yeah, because we're talking about the one with the late people.
Yeah, episode 14.
Yeah.
Missed it by that much.
And it shows. Odyssey USA.
Yeah. This is pre the Adventures in Odyssey branding.
Yeah.
This episode was pulled out of circulation before the Adventures in Odyssey branding happened.
Yeah. Was it never remastered or anything like that, or?
No, I don't think the AIO Club release is considered a remaster.
No, I don't think it is either.
It's aired once on the radio, which was February 20th of 1988. And then it was released on, so after the Family Portraits pilot, they started up as Odyssey USA and aired a handful of episodes and then released their first cassette collection called Odyssey USA, and this episode was included on that as the 12th episode on that album.
Why? They're like, this is our sales pitch, a really trippy Twilight Zone episode, like.
Yep. So it was included on like that, and then when they switched over to being called Adventures in Odyssey, they re-released that album just titled Adventures in Odyssey and nothing else changed. And then that album's kind of since been pulled, and some of those episodes have been used elsewhere on like the first album, but others were completely removed from circulation. This one was never reissued because it's got
Officer Harley in it.
Yep, who was banned from Odyssey. But then when the Adventures in Odyssey Club launched, they released this as the 5th episode in the Officer Harley Collection. So spoiler alert, guys, Andrew and I are now subscribed to the Adventures in Odyssey Club.
Exactly.
After riding it for, I don't know, a year now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, despite dispensable income coming and going. Yeah, I'm proud of us. We did a good thing. It's a big leap. Our username is WadFamChalkpad.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any. I was like looking around. I was like, is there any like forums tied to this or like ways to leave comments on episodes? I can't find anything.
No,
but
there should be.
If there is, let us know.
Yeah, maybe that's maybe Mr. Lee from the AIO Wiki could incorporate that.
Yeah. Let's get an official Adventures in Odyssey
club
forum comment section, something like that. I want to interact.
Yeah, well, I feel like that would be really easy to do. Is just having like a comment section, with being just being like a Wikipedia for each episode and having comments on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Why it doesn't
hire
exist?
us?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. This episode was written by Paul McCusker, and it was directed by Phil Lawler and Steve Harris.
Oh boy.
Steve Harris was only on stuff while he did Family Portraits and Odyssey USA, and then dipped out.
Interesting.
So we'll probably never see him again, but
you will be missed. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
What do you? We have a promo, right?
I cannot believe we have a promo.
Yeah, it defies logic.
This episode aired on the radio once.
Yes.
My only thought is maybe like Focus on the Family contributes to the wiki.
Yeah, I guess they must.
Kept stuff on archive, because there's no. It defies logic that there is a promo.
They must be able. They must contribute it to it, or somebody that works for Focus on the Family is.
Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll that promo.
Next week, Rachel Weaver is going to learn a hard lesson about punctuality. You don't know what punctuality means? Join us next week and you'll find out along with Rachel.
Whoa. That ended abruptly.
That was the end of it? Oh my gosh.
It just stops.
I thought the file was corrupt.
Well, it could be. But,
it could be
but that's the clip that's on the wiki.
The end of it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, off mic, me and Dylan were talking about, like, what happens when Chris dies?
Yeah, well, this is a weird circumstance because we don't typically get a Chris promo.
No, we don't. No, but like, even like during the because the last episode we covered was like one of the most recent episodes, actually the most recent episode to be released, and she's sounding older.
I mean, not anymore.
Well, yeah, that's
but at the time, yeah, no, she sounds so like young and chipper.
Yeah, like wow, like I can very much imagine her like 70s outfit that she's wearing in the studio.
It's
like,
the 80s, but she's wearing a 70s outfit.
That's what I'm saying. Her collar is a actual just triangle popping out of presumably a bright purple sweater.
There you go. Oh, so in typical old Odyssey fashion, this episode takes 3.5 minutes to start.
Yeah,
without commercials.
Yeah. We have like, we get Chris's intro where she's just like, what is she even doing?
She's talking about lateness, and it cuts to a scene of a guy jumping in the ocean to swim after a boat.
Yeah, and then like them throwing in their luggage after them, and it's like these really cheesy like sound effects. It's like whatever, but what?
Like the sketches used to be kind of a staple of Odyssey, of like these sketches during the opening credits, but this one's just really funny to me.
It's
ridiculous.
Also,
it's like, what's this guy who's going on a boat trip?
Yeah, like what's going on?
Who goes on boat trips?
Yeah,
like
it's the 70s. Like it's not like the 1800s. Like
right, like you can travel by plane.
Yes, most places, if not all places. That's ridiculous. I missed his literal boat. Not even like the quintessential like you missed your train and you run after the train thing. No, it's a mysterious yacht. Yeah. Going out somewhere, and he jumps in after it.
Yeah, it's really funny. And then we go to the Wit intro, which is a little bit different than the standard one.
Yes.
A couple words are switched, and
our side of the radio.
Yep. And Odyssey USA is, of course, name dropped because it's not Adventures in Odyssey right now.
Yeah.
It's Odyssey USA.
Which is better?
I mean, I like Adventures in Odyssey better, but
me too. I think
Odyssey USA is not a bad title.
No, it's not. And like,
it saves you from having a state because you're just like city, country.
Yeah.
Imagine if you said like, I live in New York doesn't work because it's the name of the city and the state. I live in Los Angeles, USA.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like I don't understand. I don't know if the USA bit is to its benefit because it grounds it in like reality, whereas Adventures in Odyssey exists in this weird plane of like, it is in America for sure, and it is in the current time, but not really because it's not a real place, and like it's never really established as to actually where it is.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's good about the Odyssey USA title is it kind of gives you a feel of like, oh, this is going to be about a town in the US, whereas Adventures in Odyssey could be fantasy or sci-fi, or like it doesn't really give you context.
I think Odyssey USA probably lends itself better to what Odyssey is now, I would say. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
But Adventures in Odyssey.
That's what we got.
Yep.
And the old AIO is a decent acronym, so.
Yeah.
OUSA is
Yeah, I think we just say Odyssey.
Yeah.
And
then we get another Chris intro where she says like 18 different words for being late.
I wrote them all down.
Oh, thank goodness.
Tardy, delayed, slow, dawdle, dilly-dally, unpunctuality, procrastination, postpone.
Those are not all the same thing.
They're really not.
Like what?
But she's like, there's so many words for describing late, and there's so many different
If you're
kinds of
procrastinating,
late.
you're not late. You're just putting off doing something.
Yeah.
Procrastinating can cause lateness.
Yeah, that's fair. And then she also, has anybody ever said unpunctuality before? Unpunctuality
or
unpunctual.
Yeah.
The combination of the two is grammatically true, but
unpunctuality.
Unpunctuality. And then she goes through all this stuff and sets up a Doubting Thomas anecdote that is trivia to be answered at the end of the episode.
Yes. And is it even true? Was Thomas actually late?
No.
Doubting Thomas wasn't actually late for anything. It's not like he had a meeting with Jesus and then he showed up at 12:30 instead of 12.
He just wasn't present when the thing happened.
Yes.
He wasn't actually late.
Yeah.
That is a great point, Andrew. Thank you.
I have that as a note for the end of the episode where I'm like, no! What? Why? And it's so completely, like, forced in there.
Yeah, no kidding. And then she sets up the episode to be like, yeah, Rachel Weaver is always late, and now she's gonna be late.
Yeah.
Listen. So this is my namesake in Odyssey. I've got a fellow Weaver.
Okay. Rachel Weaver. There she is. Long lost
cousin. Yeah. She is not in any other episodes.
I was gonna say I don't think I've ever heard her before. And
No,
how old is she? Middle school?
Yeah, it does say middle school at some point. I don't know why. It might
Odyssey middle school for her volleyball game?
No, I think it's actually in the episode description on the AIO Club. It says middle schooler Rachel Weaver is late for everything.
Yeah. Well, and she seems too old to be in elementary school, but she's very young.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say that she could be possibly any older than, like, 9th grade. Like, I don't think she's that old. She's probably
middle schooler. Yeah, 7th or 8th grade. And, yeah. So we jump in, and there's a bunch of kids gathered at Wits End.
To go roller skating.
Right.
Okay. It's the 80s. It's a thing.
Yeah,
People do that. Why are they at Wits End? Is it a church thing? Connie's taking them. Why wouldn't they just meet at the church?
Right. It feels like Wits End is a youth group and this is an event happening.
Yes, that's exactly what it feels like.
Maybe, I don't know what the name of the church is in Odyssey, but maybe their youth group meets at Wits End.
It's a recreation center.
That would be a pretty, like, cool thing.
Yeah.
To, like, meet in the soda shop.
But why would they never establish that as a thing?
I don't know. It's just like, we wanted Whit and Connie here. And
it's so interesting because Odyssey really doesn't establish their local church at all.
Yeah, there's not a ton of of stuff there.
No. Like, they all go to church, and they
Right.
all go to Sunday school, and they talk about it a lot.
Yep.
But, like, I can't
Right.
remember any scenes of them in church.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because, like, I know that there's the bus that Wooten drives that takes kids to Sunday school.
Yeah.
And there's that episode where the Washingtons are all, like, late, but then they're actually early for church.
Yes.
And there's the whole thing with George Barkley becoming a pastor.
Yes. And having his own church.
Right, in Pokenberry.
Yes.
But I don't know.
Yeah, like,
I
even
don't
with all
feel
the
like I
kids
know
stuff, they don't
much
actually,
about-
they don't really do that. It's a church show. Why?
I don't know. Interesting questions. The roller rink they're going to is called Circle Lanes because
Wow.
the Trickle Lake naming convention applies to everything in Odyssey.
Yes, Circle Lanes.
Forest Mountain.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Forest Mountain. How could I? I've been so misguided to forget about Forest Mountain.
Oh
My
and
Lord.
then we have an early Will Ryan appearance here as Officer Harley.
Yep.
Who is just Harlow Doyle.
Yes.
But so the whole story with Harley is there was a ton of backlash from parents because you've got this authority figure who is a joke, and
Yeah.
Odyssey really liked him but decided, all right, like, we need to cut him. So when they rebrand his Adventures in Odyssey, they remove as much of Harley as they can,
Yeah.
to the point where they remake some episodes without him, and do stuff like that. And
But then they just give us Harlow Doyle.
right, but he's a private investigator, so he's not actually a person of authority.
That's fair.
Yeah, but no, it's funny.
That's
but
a strange
whatever.
workaround.
Yeah, and it's a long time before we get Harlow Doyle as
Yeah,
well.
that's true.
So we go from Officer Harley to they bring Will Ryan back as Eugene.
Yeah.
And then eventually we get Harlow Doyle. Also, Officer Harley's first name is Dave.
Yep.
Wit
Hey,
calls
Dave. Yeah.
I,
And he's like,
that
actually,
that
what-
interaction is so funny where
Yeah.
Wit calls the man by his first name and then he's like,
I'm at work.
Yeah. but Harley is like, I never realized this until I was doing research for this episode because I haven't really had access to Harley episodes and whatnot. But Officer Harley is with Wit and Tom as one of the three main characters.
Yeah, he's a
He is
huge
in
character.
18 episodes of early Odyssey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I ever appreciated that. And how... Yeah, he's there a lot. Why would they just scrap him? I mean...
Well, because there was enough outlash that they had to.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because, like, we're getting into it. So basically, Rachel's late for this roller skating thing that they're doing. And then Officer Harley shows up because he sees all these kids and he's like, what's everybody doing here? And then there's this whole joke about them going roller skating in the back and Whit not having a license.
Yep.
And that's, it's delightful. And then Officer Harley tries to, like, I don't know, organize the kids a couple times and, like, get them to get on the bus and all this stuff.
Yeah,
And everybody completely ignores him. Like, I get it, it's a joke, but oh my gosh, they don't even recognize him as an authority.
Right, which is why this was so problematic.
Yeah.
This cop is like, everybody, like, get on you guys gotta get on the bus alphabetically by height.
Yeah.
And Connie's like, ignore him, basically.
Yeah.
Which Connie at this point is like, high schooler?
Yeah, verbally rolls eyes basically at him.
It's really funny.
And then they say sit on the bus by birth month, and the kids are like, oh.
Yeah. So they have they load up the bus to go, and Connie tells Wit, she's like, look, if, we're leaving without Rachel, if she shows up late tomorrow morning for our volleyball team or our volleyball tournament, I'm kicking her off the team.
Yeah.
Which apparently Connie coaches volleyball?
I guess. I don't remember that being a thing.
I don't either, but
I guess. Maybe it's one of those just in this episode things.
yeah, maybe. And so...
Does that mean that she played volleyball? Does she currently play volleyball? She's in high school.
Yeah, she's not a sporty person, as
No.
we find out with the whole tennis thing with
yeah.
Mitch. But she's apparently sporty enough.
It could be one of those, like, she read one book and coached a church team kind of deal.
Yeah, it's
But
also,
it seemed like it was a school team, because it's at
it
the
is.
school, so...
It does seem like it's a school team. I mean, there's probably just not that many people in Odyssey, and
Yeah.
it's just like conservation of Odyssey characters.
Yeah.
And then, so Rachel then does show up. She's 45 minutes late and is mad that everyone left.
Yeah.
And her and Whit have some banter, where she doesn't know what punctual means, and he's like, "Oh, look, I wouldn't have even waited that long for you. You know, you better go rethink your life. Bye."
Pretty much, exactly.
I don't like Rachel's voice.
No, she's very annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's a middle schooler, so, like, annoying middle schooler voice.
Yeah.
But there are some, not all middle schoolers are created equal as far as how annoying their voice is, so.
Yeah.
So then Rachel ends up going back to her house, which she's presumably just walking everywhere at this point. And I guess Odyssey's close enough to, but whatever.
Not later on, though.
Yeah, not later on. Not later on at all.
But yeah, at this point, she's just walking to and from
everywhere.
From her house to Wits End.
Yeah.
She walks in. Her dad is George Barkley.
Yes, just exactly him. And is it before George Barkley's a character? I mean,
it's
it must
prior
be,
to,
but it's just the same guy. Like,
Chuck Bolte doing his George Barkley voice.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really weird.
Yeah,
and he's not even like it's not even written differently.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just the same character. He behaves the same way.
Yep.
And then, like, there's this whole bit with, like, their mom's out getting groceries.
Yep.
and then, like, so he's like, "Where's your mom?" And she's like, "I think she's at the grocery store getting food." And he's like, "Well, I guess we'll just eat then." And I'm like, if she's out getting food and you just complained about not having food, like, wouldn't you wait till she gets back?
No, because she's late.
I guess that's the
we
joke,
don't wait
isn't it?
for late people.
Yeah.
So he's like going through the TV dinners and there's a meatloaf pot pie.
Yeah.
And he's confused by that, and so am I.
Yeah, and there's black spots or something too, isn't there?
Yeah, it's
the
moldy.
freezer.
Rachel's like, because she's explaining to her dad the situation with being late, why she didn't get to go roller skating, and then why, like, what's gonna happen with volleyball tomorrow, and she's like, and he's like, yeah, you can't be late, and she's like, but mom's always late. She says it's fashionable.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh,
yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes spikes, man. Well, and there's such
George, not George, dang it.
Yeah, it is George.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
I don't think we get a first name.
Todd?
I don't think it's Todd. He's I don't know. He doesn't come to the defense of his wife at all.
No, not really at all.
It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You're right.
They just completely neglect the fact that she even exists, pretty much.
Yeah. And so
she falls asleep in front of the television, right?
Mm-hmm. She decides she's not going to eat food because the food sounds bad.
Yeah.
And so she's going to go to the TV and watch TV, and she drifts off to sleep.
Yep. And there's the Twilight Zone is in the background, the theme for the Twilight Zone's in the background, which is very fitting. Her parents find her and then leave her there because she looks cute.
Yeah. After what it's once again the mom being like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, and the dad being like, I don't know that we should leave her in front of the TV. It might like mess with her mind.
Yeah. It was like stuff like she'll be like, I don't know if that's healthy. And I'm like,
yes.
What?
Yeah. It was the 80s.
Yeah, it's true. It was, and this was
and
conservative
I was
80s.
Say, this is conservative Christian.
This is castles and cauldrons, people.
Keep in mind, Whit does not have a TV to this day.
Yes. And we don't
or
even
a smartphone.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet you I think he's one of those intentional flip phone people.
Yeah, because he had to borrow Suzu's.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, but his phone, he left his phone upstairs in that.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, he didn't have one on him in the first place.
Wow. Whatever. Not this episode.
Not this episode.
And so
then we get these.
It's the best sound engineering.
Yeah. It's
this is one of the reasons I want to cover Twilight Zone stuff. Even though this is like a weird gateway into Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
The sound is so good.
It's so trippy. It reminds me of how the dream sequence in like the original Winnie the Pooh movie where Winnie the Pooh's like drifting off to sleep and it's like, beware, beware. Like it is amazing. And also like what? Like it is so not Odyssey.
Yeah. It's it's the best. And like right off the back, Rachel seems to know that she's asleep.
Yes.
And then we get the voiceover guy who just sounds like Nick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he just sounds like Nick.
I did like a double check to make sure it wasn't the same actor. It's not, but it's just that it's that same like I don't know, kind of
glib,
New York,
snarky.
Yeah. Weird New York accent.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, and he falls asleep like, so she falls asleep like with these like weird like sound clips of what Whit had said earlier.
Yeah,
and
what her dad had
said. And then we get this basically nightmare sequence about her being late for everything.
Yeah, the voiceover guy announces it as the Twilight Zone, and then is like, if you've got a better name, you can come up with that.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
It is. And it's like they're clearly playing on like Twilight Zone era like tropes and stuff where like Rachel is overacting like crazy, and so are all the characters, but it's not Odyssey being bad, it's them doing intentional parody. Yeah. And being like, in 60s TV shows everyone overacted. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do here.
And it's good though. Like I think
it's great.
And it comes across really well. Like it's I don't know what to say other than like it's well done. We get like
she jumps from scene to scene being like
late for school
always in her pajamas, which I love, and she gets like detention for the rest of the year because of being late for school, and she doesn't show up for cheerleading for a game, and so the team loses,
and it's her fault.
Right?
Nice pajamas.
And she's too late for lunch, so she gets to do a million dishes.
And then her parents are like, it sucks to suck.
Yep. She's too late to
Miss America.
She loses. Not Miss America. Miss Beautiful America.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was some sort of parody trademark thing that I did not pick up on.
And so they're like, we'll just give the win to someone else. I really wish they had like named the other person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're too late. We're gonna give the award to this pig.
Yeah. To Robin Hillendale. To Connie Kendall.
Who's Robin Hillendale?
I don't know. I just made up the name.
I think that's what is
Hillendale's the name of the nursing home.
Hillendale's the name of the nursing home, and Robin Jacobs is the person?
I guess, yes.
Fair enough.
There you go. That's your answer.
And then it like she's late to her own wedding, and so the guy she's marrying marries someone else.
Yeah, which is dark as heck, and she's also she's like, it's my wedding day, and then she's like, I love my wedding dress, and the priest's like, nice pajamas. And you're like, what?
And then there's like a scene with like an old Hollywood movie producer who's like, we can't cast you because you've been late to every practice.
Yeah, you were gonna make it big time, kid. I'll tell you what, Dollface,
really
you had a real future. And then they just really kick her out. It's this thing. It's so whack.
I love it so much. And the whole time there's like this ambient music and like a ton of crossfade.
Oh yeah.
Every clip is crossfading.
Yeah. And it's great. It's so good. It's so good.
And then she comes like out of her room and her parents are old.
Yeah.
Or no, it's just her dad.
Yeah.
Her mom has already left, which I thought they were going to say she was dead.
I thought they
just said she had left. But her parents grew old waiting for her to get ready for church.
Yeah, and her dad like, I have been waiting for years. It's like, your mom left a long time ago. Which, like, wow, that's a rough parenting move.
I know.
Unless she just died, which I feel like would be easier to convey.
then he's like, if you're not careful, you're gonna be late to your own funeral.
And then she is. Which is magic.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
She shows up and the pastor's like, oh yeah, you missed all the nice things they said about you.
Yeah, you were pretty, you were kind, you were late. That's what he says. Which, and it's whack. Like, the production is so good, and like, oh, it's so interesting.
It's amazing.
But also the premise is then, like, it cuts to Mr. Nick, announcer guy.
Yep.
Who's like, she's trapped in her own dream because she likes to sleep on Saturdays. And I'm like, oh!
Yeah, and this
is dark!
his narration is just the best.
It's so funny. It's so good.
Such a perfect... Yeah, oh
It's
man,
like
I
the
love
snark
it.
parody. Listen to it, please.
Yeah,
Please,
seriously,
for the
people.
love of God.
And Phil Waller is the voiceover guy.
Of course
too.
he is.
But yeah, oh man, get
the AIO
the AIO club. I
Just
can't
do
believe
it.
I'm doing this.
I
but,
guess we gotta plug it. Just so you can listen to this one episode, then you can unsubscribe.
yeah, you guys get there's a free trial, I assume.
Presumably. I don't know that there actually is, though.
Yeah, I also don't know. But
I don't think
find,
there was.
find a friend who has the AIO club.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so
Don't get the app. It's terrible.
the app is brutal.
I tried it. I was like, it can't be that bad. It's so bad.
When you're playing an episode, it doesn't show up in your notification bar.
It doesn't even show up in the app.
Right.
The only way to stop the episode is to close the app. And then you lose all your progress in the episode.
It's
Odyssey, that's not even functional.
No.
Focus
it's
on
really
the family.
not.
What are you doing?
Like you can switch to other apps and it'll still be playing.
Yes.
But like, don't pause it.
You can't pause it. You physically can't. And I checked, and like it works fine on the computer.
Yeah. It's still not great, but
No.
it works. So, yeah. But now we have it, so we can cover new stuff if we feel like it.
Yeah, we can cover everything.
Anything
And everything.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of something we can talk about at the end. But
Okay.
before we get there, she promises to never be late for anything ever again.
Which is like the classic, like, Scrooge, like, I promise to spread Christmas cheer all through the year.
Yep. And then she wakes up.
Yep. And then she tries to wake up her parents, and her parents are like, screw you or stay sleeping. Like,
She's like, my game's at 9, and they're like, oh great, we can sleep. Her mom's like, oh great, I can sleep until 9 then.
Yeah.
She's like, if I'm late to this one, I'm kicked off the team. She's great, like great, then I can sleep until 10.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Which is the thing, like, one
It's
of my
the
notes.
worst parenting.
Yeah, one of my notes is like, okay, so she's late for everything. She's also probably like 12, meaning that there's probably a lot of other factors in this.
I have a feeling that her being late for stuff has something to do with her parents.
Presumably her mom.
Yeah.
But her dad isn't innocent.
No, he's not, but the show does cast him in a better light, because he then
Yeah.
does agree to get up, and he's like, oh, I'll actually go to your game. It would be fun to see you play. I'm like, what parent of a middle schooler isn't going to their sports games?
Who doesn't
my
have,
word.
like, who has like work or like, so like.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, go to your daughter's sports games.
Yeah.
Parents out there listening to this
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I don't think there are any, but if there are, tweet at us.
Yeah.
But go to your kids' sports games.
Seriously. It's so important. I played sports. I still play sports. Do it. It means a lot. They gotta vent to somebody, man. It might not mean anything to you, but it means a lot to them.
But-
now that PSA's out of the way.
But yeah, so her dad does agree to go with her, and is this episode saying that her mom's a bad person? Because the
Yes.
fashionably late thing, and then this thing now,
Yes.
I'm like, you're really beating down on
Mom.
Mrs. Weaver.
Yeah.
So
She's so kind, though.
yeah,
I don't know, and she's like not there at the grocery store. Yeah, I think the mom's like, yikes.
Yeah.
She ain't good, bro.
I know.
She ain't it.
It's
And so they get in the car and it won't start, and they say the distributor is the problem, which isn't a thing in a car.
That is not a thing in a car.
It's just a word.
There are so many things you could have said.
You could have just said the battery's dead.
Yeah.
That would be so easy.
Uh-huh. Or the alternator.
Yep.
Which is probably what they meant by distributor.
Yes.
But don't just make something up.
Why? Why not? Like, why would it... It's so easy to not.
Right.
Why would you do it? I understand if it's like really tech savvy stuff where it's like you don't actually understand how this works. You know why your car's not starting.
Right. This is a show that name dropped wobble wedges. How did you not know the alternator?
Exactly. A better point has never been made on this show.
So the car's not starting, so she's gonna bike. And the music is incredible.
The synth, oh my gosh.
I love
It's so good. It's so
fantastic.
Good. Like, if this is a TV show, it's like front view of the bike, like low to the ground, like the tire is spinning in the front, and you see like, I gotta get there. I gotta get there.
And then she gets a flat tire.
Yep. And then she walks, and then she gets chased by dogs.
She decides to run through her neighbor's backyards.
Which is fair.
Dogs chase her.
A poodle chases her.
It gets her sock, but nothing else.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, like, not her shoe? How did they get the sock? My guess is it, like, bit at her ankle and then tore off a part of her sock?
Yeah.
Volleyball, do they wear high socks? No, they don't. I don't think they wear high socks.
I don't know.
They just wear, like, ankle socks.
Anyways, she then falls into a creek, and she's like, who would put a creek there? Which is really funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. Like, what a bad place for a creek. And then she's like, oh, I'm soaked.
And she stops by Whit. She sees Whit.
Yeah.
And Whit kind of calls out to her. Apparently, is he driving up beside her and then pulls off to the side of the road? What I'm
seeing is she's coming out of the woods and Whit's driving past and is like, what? And then stops.
Right. He stops, but he also turns off his car.
Yes.
Rather than just putting it in park and letting it run, because Whit really cares about the environment.
Yes, he does. He's very gas conscious.
And so he turns off his car. So she hops in his car to get to the game, and then his car stops working.
Yes. Which at this point I thought, is she still in the dream?
Oh.
I was like, wait
interesting.
A minute. Is this like a Nightmare Before Christmas situation, or not Nightmare, or a Christmas Carol situation where it's like a dream within a dream?
Ooh.
But not the case, actually. Not actually the case.
And then so then we cut from there to the announcer at the game saying, teams take your places.
Yeah.
And Connie's like, if she doesn't get here right now, she's gonna be too late. And I'm like, if you get to the point where the announcer is telling the teams to take their places, she's too late.
Yeah, where's the warm-up? Good Lord, I get it, it's middle school, but she could hurt herself.
And so she runs in right as that happens. Yeah. And then we jump to Wit's End.
Yeah. And they're like celebrating because she was on time.
Yeah.
They lost.
They lost the game, but she was on time. She managed to get there because Whit was coming back from getting his bike fixed.
Yeah.
So his bike was in the trunk. I guess Whit bikes.
Yeah, I guess it plays with the whole, environmentally friendly, man.
Yeah. That's clearly being set here.
Yes. And never picked up again.
So this game is having a full-blown ice cream party because one of their members was on time for something.
She wasn't even on time. She was definitely late.
Right. But how can you always be that late? And like early on in the episode when her and Whit are talking, she's like making up excuses and then kind of is like, well, actually, I'm just late.
Yeah. And she's just, oh my Lord. Yeah. And that's the episode. And then we get Chris's outro where she's like, Doubting Thomas was late.
Yep.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't know it was happening. What? And then she signs off using her last name.
Right. Not just her last name, which she never uses, but her maiden name. Because she's Chris Anthony. Normally.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because it threw me too, and then I was like, wait, no, she's Chris Anthony.
Is that her real life name?
So the name she uses here, I guess, is probably before she probably got married and had her name changed.
Yeah.
So
Chris Lansden?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really weird.
I was like,
hear Chris's
what?
last name. And then to look and be like, wait, is that even her last name? It's not, is it?
No.
Not anymore.
I'm still confused whether Chris is like a character in real life or a character in Odyssey. And I think it's both. But, well, yeah. That relationship has always thrown me of being like, what is she?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's where the episode ends. It's so short, like, because it's a 20, I think it's like 25 minutes from front to back or something.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think it's 23.
I was going to say, I think it's like 23, and 4 or 5 minutes of that is...
intro.
Well, there's 3.5 minutes of intro and like 2 minutes of outro.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like a 15-minute, and that whole dream sequence, like there's not a ton to talk about.
No. It felt really short.
Yeah. I like it.
No, yeah, it's different. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Like I went into this thinking like, this is gonna feel a lot like like the Imagination Station stuff or like the Room of Consequences stuff, and maybe later episodes will, but this was like, wow, what was that?
Right. She dreamed, she had a hallucinatory dream wherein she learned the moral of the story and changed her life.
Yes.
Because of a dream.
Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It is. And it's also like without Chris's whole Thomas bad thing that she's pigeonholing in, it's not it's just like a straight up like moral episode. It's not like a scriptural episode in any way.
And boy, do they hammer home that moral of just don't be late.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
because I
don't know. It's consistent lateness to the degree where it's like 45 minutes is a serious issue.
Yeah, that's a problem for sure. You can't be dependent on.
Right. But I don't know. I don't think
of all the things to put an entire episode into.
Right. Well, and so I looked up, and it is like there's not other Odyssey episodes that have lateness as a theme.
Yeah.
Which also surprised me because I was like, wait, isn't the Washington family being late for church one about lateness? But apparently that's not the theme.
What's the theme of that one?
I don't know. But
okay.
But yeah, it's a fun little episode. The sound is so good.
Oh like, my gosh, that bike synth though. I was sitting in my seat recording or prepping for this, and I was just like, "This is amazing! I like this a lot."
The like her whole like rushing around sequence, the sound is so good, and the whole Twilight Zone has the best feel.
Yeah.
Like you imagine like a void in space with just like things kind of like scenes kind of floating past and panning in and out, and
it does what the Twilight Zone did, which I don't know if you ever watched much Twilight Zone.
Not a ton, but
I watched a good bit because my dad really liked it.
Nice.
So yeah, it feels very much like that, but for kids, which is obviously what it's supposed to be. Because there are some episodes of the Twilight Zone where it's just like, what the heck is happening? Like, this is ridiculous.
It'll mess you up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's
it.
That's the episode.
That's all she wrote.
I want to hit something quickly here. Just we did get a couple people who reached out about our previous episode.
Okay.
Just to let us know that there are there's 5 episodes, I think, before the one we covered that are setting up some of those characters and also creating kind of a mystery element to things.
Oh.
So
that's on the most recent album.
No, that's across like a bunch of different albums.
Okay.
And the comment I got from listener the anonymous one who emailed us was that while this episode did, like, it doesn't directly pull from any of that stuff is clearly feeding into this future mystery. So if and when we ever decide to cover that sort of stuff, we can
get into it.
Rest assured that we do now know that there is more than
more to it than this isolated thing,
than just the escape room episode. So
okay, well, thank you for reaching out for us.
And thank you, listeners, for reaching out, and also for not, like, filling us with spoilers as a result of just kind of being like, hey, here's the stuff. The email we got also was like, and don't go on the AIO wiki pages because they are crawling with spoilers at the moment. And I was like, cool, appreciate it.
Always looking out for us.
Yeah,
real family. The Wad fam, Chalk fam. No, not into it. I don't think that's the merch.
Are you gonna plug anything, Andrew?
No. All I'm gonna say is leave us a review on app, wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps. And do we have that at the end of every episode?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. No, so that's my plug. I'm plugging the podcast I'm on.
Yeah. For that. Yeah. Leave us a review, and then my plug is going to be in a similar I don't know lane, which is when you if any of you guys are interested, the Lidditz podcast co-op, of which this show is a part, and also the Andrew Sabo podcast, has a Twitter account that tweets out whenever any of the shows release an episode. So if you guys, like, we'll obviously talk about episodes of the Andrew Sabo podcast on this show when we can, but that's definitely a for sure way of being able to that's do that. The place to know, like, the day of. Yeah, and that's really nice. Or just subscribe to it. Yeah. That helps too. Yeah. All right. And that's our episode, and we'll be back next week talking about episode 119, Better Late Than Never. Bye, guys. Bye. Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Episode 52, Missed It By That Much, was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo and edited by Dylan Weaver. I'm Michaela Mueller, and I hope you'll explore our side of podcasting next week on the Wadfam Chalk Pod.